Many people believe that Howard Shultz was linked to Starbucks from the very beginning, that is, since 1971. That, however, is not true. The original company founders were three friends who were great coffee enthusiasts. It was them who decided to open a coffee shop in Seattle. The consumers would be able to purchase roasted coffee beans and all the necessary equipment for brewing coffee. Of course, the idea alone is not enough. One of the first steps that they had to take was to create a name and a logo of their brand. Terry Heckler was engaged in the project, and the result of his work was the first logo of Starbucks in history. You're probably wondering why the owners decided to choose the name Starbucks. Gordon Bowker explained it in one of his interviews. During their research phase, a lot of ideas were taken into consideration. For example, cargo house. Terry Heckler then noticed that words beginning with letters ST are somehow more powerful. At that time, someone else noticed a name of a town on an old map called Starbo. Gordon Bowker immediately associated the name with Herman Melville's novel Moby Dick. To be more precise, he remembered the name of one of the characters in the book, Starbuck. In the novel, Starbuck was the first officer of Pequod, a whaling ship. In the end, they chose this name and called the company Starbucks. Of course, not because the first officer of Pequod drank a lot of coffee. Choosing this name just felt right and seemed most sensible. That's it. Another question that comes to our mind is, who is the lady in the logo? The company claims that it's a mermaid. She carries this allure secret, as well as elements that are associated with sailing. And that's what the founders were aiming at. In other words, the logo suggests that the company originally sold not only coffee beans, but also tea and spices. This dark brownish logo was their identifier on the market in the years 1971-1987. Some changes, however, were made. The first change had to do with the placing of the logo on delivery trucks. The logo, as well as the mermaid's breasts, were very large at the time. They altered the logo by covering the breasts with her hair. Another big change was adding the words fresh roasted coffee. The year 1982 was an important one for Starbucks. It was this year that Howard Shultz became the marketing director. A year later, Shultz took a business trip to Milan. During his stay, he came across a tradition of drinking coffee in small cafes. This was not yet introduced in the US. People sat inside, enjoyed their coffee, laughed and talked. This impressed him so much that when he came back to Seattle, he started convincing the owners of Starbucks to create a similar place for people to meet and mingle. It was supposed to be sort of a third place between work and home to go to. All his attempts ended with failure. The owners wanted to stick to the idea that the consumer would come into a traditional store, purchase the coffee beans, and brew them at home. Shultz's determination was, however, so strong that in 1985 he left Starbucks, collected funds, and in 1986 pursued his dream of opening a cafe called Il Giornale, where he served espresso. The name of the cafe was a reference to an Italian newspaper issued in Milan. The central part of the logo featured Mercury's face, who in Roman mythology was the fast messenger of gods. The new cafe turned out to be a great success. Shultz, however, did not have enough money to open more cafes. In 1987, Shultz found out that the original founders of Starbucks wanted to sell their company. He quickly found many investors in Seattle and eventually bought Starbucks in 1987. The two companies were then combined, and the logo today symbolizes this combination. It's clear to see that the new logo was created by Terry Heckler, was inspired by the previous Starbucks logos, as well as the logo of Il Giornale. This was a breakthrough. Starbucks became a place for people to meet, talk, and enjoy their coffee, while admiring the crowned, neatly stylized, alluring mermaid. In 1992, the logo was altered. One of the main reasons was the mermaid's stomach. This may seem a bit strange. Why the stomach, you might ask? Well, Starbucks received a shocking amount of letters asking whether the mermaid was pregnant. When designing the logo in 1987, Terry Heckler had of course no intention of making her look as if she were pregnant. Eventually, because of all the letters received from women, the company decided to change the logo. The mermaid was made bigger and her alleged pregnancy disappeared. In 2008, Starbucks decided to go back to their roots. The second logo in the history of Starbucks was retrieved. It is very likely that the logo change had something to do with the introduction of a new coffee bean taste, called Pike Place Roast. The name of the beans refers to a place where the first Starbucks in history was opened. The logo was criticized by a group called The Resistance, a Christian organization from San Diego, which accused Starbucks of immorality because of the pose the mermaid has taken. Mark Dice, founder of the group, said in a news release, "Need I say more? It is extremely poor taste, and the company might as well call themselves Slutbucks." The change was severely criticized by designers as well as consumers. The concept of retrieving the old logo was abandoned because in April 2009, the logo from 1992 came back. In 2011, Starbucks celebrated its 40th birthday. This was a good moment to present a new logo. The new design released the mermaid from the outer circle, making her the true face of Starbucks. The modern world undergoes dynamic and fast-paced changes. The new visual concept allows the company to keep up with the latest trends, as well as keep their own heritage.